You're listening to Physician Non-Clinical Careers, episode number 334. How does a consultant start a new telemedicine service? Today's guest appeared on the podcast back in July of 2021, and she returns today to update us on two big changes in her career. First, the development of a new maternal-fetal health telemedicine program, and the upcoming publication of her new memoir. Before we do that, however, let's hear from our sponsor. A longstanding show sponsor, the University of Tennessee Executive MBA program. The UT Pemba is the longest running, most highly respected physician-only executive MBA in the country, and it's produced more than 700 graduates. The Haslam College of Business was recently ranked #1 in the world by Economist Magazine as the most relevant executive MBA program. And it's a program that only takes 2 years to complete. And you'll also complete a company project while you're in the program, so you can really demonstrate the skills you're learning to your colleagues and maybe to your boss. Graduates have taken leadership positions at major healthcare organizations and have become entrepreneurs and business owners. So if you want to acquire new business and management skills and advance your non-clinical career, then contact Dr. Kate Ashley's office at 865-974-6526 or use our handy link at nonclinicalphysicians.com/physician MBA. By the way, did you know that you too can sponsor the Physician Non-Clinical Careers podcast? As a sponsor, you'll reach thousands of physicians with each episode to sell your products and services or to build your following. Your message will be heard on the podcast, seen on the website, in our newsletter, and in social media posts. To learn more, contact us at john.jerica.md@gmail.com and include sponsor in the subject line. Dr. Luissa Kiprono attended the University of New England College of Osteopathic Medicine, completed a residency at Wright State University, at Wright-Patterson Medical Center in OB-GYN, and perinatology fellowship at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. More recently, she's been coaching and writing her memoir, which is called Push Then Breathe, Trauma, Triumph, and Making of an American Doctor. And she also started her telemedicine practice, TeleMed MFM, in 2022. So she's been really busy. So let's meet today's guest. Today's guest first appeared on the podcast in July of 2021. And since then, a lot of things have changed. She's a maternal-fetal medicine specialist who's now providing care using telemedicine. So I definitely wanted to hear about that. She's a University of Tennessee Physician Executive MBA graduate and holder. So I just remind you of that because that's one of our sponsors. And she's also the author with a soon-to-be-released memoir. So this should be fun and interesting. Welcome back to the podcast, Dr. Luissa Kiprono.
Good morning, John. I am very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me back to your podcast, the Physician Non-Clinical Careers.
Yeah, I think it was very inspirational last time, what you were doing then. And now some new things have happened, which I find extremely interesting and again, inspirational. So we'll just get right into it. For the listeners, if you go back to episode, I think it was 204, you can learn more details of Dr. Kiprono's background and so forth. But to get us started, let's just kind of go through a little bit of a list of what's happened since we talked back in 2021, if you would.
Okay. Well, in August 2022, right at the conclusion of the COVID pandemic, my organization, Pediatrics, decided to shut doors of the practice I was leading at the time, Texas Perinatal Group. So that came as a surprise, I have to say. And at that time, I really came at a crossroads, whether to sign another agreement with another organization or to take a different road, the less travel road, and that is to open my own practice. And really, I realized how exhausting it's been, to invest in someone else's dream and in someone
Mm.
else's endeavor. So I said, might as well just start investing in my own. So that is how TeleMed MFM was born.
So now, was that from the very get-go going to be, heavily involving or solely involving telemedicine type of interactions?
It was done, it was started 100% with a vision to become telemedicine. I have to say that I had plenty of experience in the matter due to the way COVID kind of pushed us into with medicine and medical practices. But also, I was the first practice in both ComHealth agency, which is the locum tenens agency, and pediatrics medical group that, as a maternal-fetal medicine practice, would hire and maintain telemedicine in their services, not only during the pandemic, but also up to the day that the practice closed in August 2022. So I did have experience in the matter. And I think that's where it kind of started. I was like, I know what to do. I know how to handle it, and it works. But it was scary. I have to tell you, it was exciting and it was scary to both start a new practice, in my 50s, and also to start not only just any practice, telemedicine in maternal-fetal medicine.
Anytime you make a change like that, it's both, you've got all the business aspects of it, and then also like, okay, how am I going to deliver care? What's the best way to do it? And in
Yeah.
telemedicine, I have like zero familiarity with. So that's like how in that environment you deliver your services. But so you're to be commended for that, and I think when you do that, while it's very stressful and it probably takes some time and some money, you do, as you mentioned, have more freedom and independence. So I mean, it's a trade-off.
Yes, that is. It is yes, you are your own boss. Also doing telemedicine, you practice medicine from the comfort of your, private office, home
Mhm.
office. But I always give, a word to the wise, to the newly grads, and the newly grads are excited, let me tell you. This generation is like, oh yes, this is so exciting, and we're going to do telemedicine and so forth. It does take a lot of self-discipline, and it does take a lot of fortitude to not cut corners, because it's easy. Just think about what used to happen during COVID, when Zoom meetings start, right? Now you're like, oh, I got all this freedom. Oh, I can also check an email. Oh, I can also do this. I can also do that. So here you are at the end of the meeting. You're like, what exactly the meeting was all about, right? Well, that same dangers come when you do telehealth. So, but it comes with a price. So you do have to be so disciplined. You have to say, how it would be if I am the patient and the physician that renders care on the other side doesn't pay attention. And, they don't give me the best care that is because they do it through telemedicine, or something really, they miss something. So you do have to have respect, and also you be yourself, like your watchdog. Hey, I got to do, this
Mhm.
is my job. It's only the place that's different. The care, the connection with the patient, the services rendered, for the patient, they should always be there. And just like I would be physically in the same office with them.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that attracted me to want to talk to you about this, that prompted me, is that I get questions all the time from, I'll just say, specialists. Some of them are surgeons, some are medical subspecialists. And in their minds, they're like, well, yeah, primary care, urgent care, that's fine. Telemedicine is very common. People have low risk, colds and respiratory, and they can get treated over the phone or the telemedicine service, for a UTI or something. But it's a different type of telemedicine when you're a consultant And, I've seen surgeons and other specialists do this, but never have I talked to a perinatalogist that has done this. And so I guess my question is, tell me a little bit more about what the interactions are like. Are you, since you have really a close relationship normally with the obstetricians as well as the patient, are you interacting with both? And do you do some consults with an obstetrician in which you don't actually talk to the patient, or are they always involving the patient directly?
It is very involved. Communication is the key, at least when it comes from me. So my advice is always, always communicate. I'm an over communicator. So I speak with my obstetrician that if I make any changes to the care and we switch gears, I call my referring OB provider and I say, hey, this has come up. This is how I recommend. Then I speak with my patients after I discuss it with the obstetrician. Um, just imagine everything the same like you would go in a doctor's office. The only difference is through the screen. Okay, we are talking live here, doing a podcast. Same thing, I'm talking live with my patient. Patient comes in, whether it is a video consult from the comfort of their home, or it's a telehealth consultation that is in the practice, in the hospital or in the MFM practice where the patient is scheduled to come. The patient gets an ultrasound. I read the ultrasound, and then we have a consultation, and I convey the findings to the patient. We discussed, just like you would talk face to face with the physician, medical history, go through the entire finding of the ultrasound, counseling, render an assessment, and discuss the plan. And then I finish the consultation through the EMR and sign it, and that's it. It's very very doable. It goes very seamless. If there are things, I mean, there will be things. Think about it when you are in the office. Is your computer need an update? Sure. Is your computer maybe gonna crash and you need to reboot? Yes. Do you have EMR when you go and work in a brick and mortar office? Yes. Or in the hospital? Yes. So all those are happening. The only difference is I am not physically with the patient in the room, but my sonographer are, but my nurse is. If I need to send the patient to the hospital, I call the nurse, let her know I called obstetrician, and the nurse calls the hospital, and the patient shows up just like that. There are a couple of procedures that obviously I cannot do, but like amniocentesis, CBS, those are for prenatal diagnosis of congenital or genetic abnormalities. But that when the practice, the physicians who is physically in the office comes into place. And brings me to my next point, hybrid practice. The hybrid practice, medical practices of healthcare are here to stay because you have to have the hybrid. Think about if you have a team that some of them do just consulting, but some of them do also procedures. People who do procedures have to be doing the procedure in that room, in the operating room. Or if I have an amniocentesis, the physician, the MFM that is in the office that day will go ahead and they take care of that for us.
Okay. What about, again, when I've talked to people that are doing telemedicine as primary care, they're constrained by where they're licensed states. They have to be licensed in multiple states. Although I know some of that during the pandemic was a little loosened up a little bit. It was a little easier to get. So what do you focus on certain locations? Is it kind of local, even though it's telemed, or is it countrywide? How does that work?
So I am licensed in multiple states.
Okay.
Every state has its own slight differences. Now we have compact. So compact made it easier and more streamlined to be able to be licensed faster in different states. I personally hold multiple licenses, but right now, as a matter of fact, my practice has signed a exclusive agreement with a very well-known large organization in Kansas City, Missouri. And I will be providing TeleMed MFM is providing maternal-fetal medicine services virtually for their patients.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of segues into a question I had about how do you get the word out and where do you find business? And so it sounds like at least one way is to identify a particular organization and work directly with them. So tell me a little bit more about that.
So you do, we did a lot of marketing, but when I say marketing, it's not like, you're going to put an ad in the paper or an ad in YouTube. That doesn't work that way. It
Mm-hmm.
is a lot has to do with your expertise. Maternal-fetal medicine, it's a very close-knit environment. The MFM subspecialty really was formed 50 years ago. So 50 years ago next year. Okay, so it is relatively new specialty.
Mm-hmm.
And there is about 1,300 of us, that's 1,300, but only about 900 to 1,000 that practice full time. Now, if you take that to 340 million United States citizens and 77 million women between the age 15 and 49, which we consider the fertile age, you can imagine how big the need is, how tiny the group that we are in of specialists. So to go back to your question, when it comes to marketing or advertising, I started working for this organization through an agency, through my company. So my company was contracted by the agency to work for this organization. And they learn how I work. They learn my practices. They were very impressed with, my ethics and my expertise. So they say, we just would like to contract directly with you and do a partnership between your company and our organization. Without saying, I was extremely excited, and we actually just completed that partnership, executed the partnership last month.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
So how does the lifestyle for you doing your practice this way? Have you stuck pretty much to the same kind of hours, or is there more flexibility doing it this way? That's one of the things that attracts, certain physicians to telemedicine
Mhm.
and they don't have to travel, obviously. It's very much more efficient. So tell me how it's affected your lifestyle.
So I work the same hours that I worked before. Actually, I work more. I work more now than I worked before. To take when you look at any company, any business that you start, I want to make a caveat. You will work a lot more in the beginning to start it and put it. I mean, it just has to. It's just thinking about building a momentum to have this business going. But I do work the same, if not more, because when I'm done with my clinical duties, then I start working the administrative duties after hours for my practice. And also now with my adventure. What you do have to have the electronic capabilities. Okay, so I do have literally 6 monitors in my office, and so I high grade monitors. I have to have a high speed internet, camera, video equipment, audio equipment, and that is my livelihood, right? So that's my job, is to read ultrasound. So I just don't have I don't know, small screen laptops. I have a large screen monitors because I read ultrasound about 90% of the time, that with or without consultations. Okay. That are the requirements that have to be in place in order to do this kind of endeavor. Um, Yes, it is more relaxed because I work from my home office, from my private office. Um, but again, going back to that the same caveat that I made in the beginning of the podcast, be your own watchdog. Stay disciplined, and because it's easy to to become relaxed
Hmm.
because you are at home. Well, now you still are at work. You're not at home. You're at work. Home is, yes, you go to the other room after your work is done.
Now, I'm not exactly sure how your practice worked before, so this question might be stupid, but I can imagine, as especially in MFM, you maybe you're doing the ultrasound yourself physically, or you have ultrasonographers that you typically work with, and now I'm assuming that you're actually getting a lot of different ultrasounds that you're reading from different ultrasonographers, maybe, and I mean, how's the quality? I know you've got the technology. I'm just wondering if it's affected your ability to feel the confidence in what you're looking at.
So it is an excellent question. It's not a silly question. So as a maternal-fetal medicine physician, we do have highly trained sonographers. They are not radiologists and they are not OB/GYN sonographers. They are uh, sonotechs who spend about 18 months to
Hmm.
specialize in fetal ultrasounds. Okay. So when it comes to that, I had other offers prior to this, and they said, well, you're just going to read the ultrasound that an OB tech is going to do it. And I said, no, it just doesn't cut it
Hmm.
because I am not there to be able to troubleshoot, and I need certain images. So what happened is the maternal fetal medicine sonographers are going by strict guidelines imposed by AIUM. They are RDMS certified and fetal echo certified. So it
Hmm.
is, think about this. Just like everything else, if you have a radiologist that reads general X-rays or general MRIs, then you have radiologists who specialized in fetal MRIs, and then you go
Hmm.
further, radiologists that have specialized in neurofetal MRIs. So that is so important for me to be able to have this at my fingertips, to trust my staff. I have to trust my sonographers because they are my eyes. And let's say they didn't get the image, I'll just ask them, hey, can you get another image for me? And they know exactly what I'm looking for. Otherwise, the learning curve is very steep, uh, especially if I'm not there. The trust is not there, just like you said. The liability is very high on my end because if they miss something, then I miss something. Then the patient doesn't get the counseling they should have. The follow up is not the proper follow up, and then at delivery, the baby doesn't get the care that they should have been anticipated otherwise.
Yes, we don't like surprises in medicine, and we really don't like surprises in maternal fetal
No
medicine.
obstetrics,
I happen to
yes.
have two daughters that are pregnant at the moment, so I'm hearing a lot of things third hand. And one thing is not an ultrasound that's not giving the right answers. So, okay, that was very interesting. We're going to run out of time soon. Then, well, we're not going to run out quickly because I have a whole other topic I want to talk to you about. But I do want you to go ahead and give the website for the Telemedicine MFM, business, just in case there's physicians listening who may need your services or want to learn more, or even contact you on LinkedIn if they're starting something similar.
Sure. So my practice number is 210-660-9906. My website, you can find me at uh, telemedmfm.com. That is TeleMedMFM.com. And my email is Dr. K at telemedmfm.com. If you go to my website, you can always find there the contact info. And please send me an email, ask me a question. I'll be very, very happy to share my knowledge with you and my expertise, both how to launch a telemedicine practice, and also how to navigate through the intricacies of it, both medical, but also insurance and licensing.
Excellent. So I will put all those in the show notes, of course, and even in the email that I send out about the episode, I'll have all those links and a few others that we're going to talk about. But in the process, that you've described, you've been busy starting this, but in the meantime, you've also had another activity, I don't know, I guess I wouldn't call it a hobby, something going on, and it's about a book, a memoir. And so we definitely want to hear about that as well. When did that start to come up as something you wanted to do?
So 5 years ago, I embarked in this journey, writing my own memoir. This memoir takes the reader on a journey that I have started back in 1987 as a 19-year-old woman, immigrant, who came to America for 2 months. I came to America to meet and know my father, and that turned into a lifetime. And without spoiling the drum roll entrance for the book, it's been a journey. It's been a journey of a lifetime. And that journey of 15 years, really, takes me and it takes the reader all the way to my graduation date in 2002. And at this time, I'm thrilled to announce the debut of this first nonfiction book. Its name is Push, Then Breathe, Trauma, Triumph, and the Making of an American Doctor. At the same time, I'm launching my platform. It's called Dr. Luissa K, and it is a thought empowerment platform in both leadership and overcoming trauma and thriving by achieving one's own potential. Date of release is February 13, 2024, and it's going to be launched at all the major retailers in the United States in hard copy, audiobook, and Kindle format.
Nice. Is this like a traditionally published book through a large publisher?
It is a hybrid
Okay.
publishing. So the publisher is a Greenleaf Publishing Group.
All right. Now, we always have questions about, or to address with authors and writers. It's not easy. It's not easy to organize. It's not. So what method did you use to write? Some people will do blocks 3 or 4 hours at a time. Other people will, maybe work on a weekend. How did you actually sit down to create this book?
Okay. Well, I started the first chapter of this book 35 years ago in Romania. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I wrote the first chapter and I put it aside because life got in the way big time. So about 5 years ago, I found myself recording, every morning for about half an hour. I was very intent into doing it, and it lasted about 2 weeks.
Mm.
When you run a practice, at that time, as I was running, the huge 52 employee practice, and then also, you have a family, children, life, let's call it. So I said, I really want to write this book, but there is no way I can write this in my lifetime at the pace I'm going. So I started looking at ghostwriters. And I partnered with my book coach and ghostwriter. And that is how the book was finally written through both our collaborations. I want to tell you something that we, all physicians, and really some non-physicians, but usually type A personalities, we feel that we must write a book. Like, as in, I have to physically write it. But what I can tell you is that the thought out there is that it's actually smarter to work with a book coach and a ghostwriter than trying to do it yourself. It's like delegating. Think about if you are in your office and you're trying to do everything, trying to vitalize somebody, take fetal heart tones, uh, put the patient in the room, do the ultrasound, be the physician, check out the person, and start that again. How long can you last? You won't last. It's not sustainable, right? Probably you'll last about 3 days. Same thing here. Okay. Can you be a full-time physician and write the book and be a mom or a dad and do it all perfectly? No, you can't. So you have to A, prioritize, B, work smart. So I did. It still took us a couple of years. The book was finalized in December 2022, which was last year. And then in March was accepted for publication by Greenleaf Publishing Group. And it's now in print. The audiobook, it's on the way. And it's happening. It's really, really close. They are also the hybrid publishing. It's very, very convenient and very, can I say, they work very well in many, many ways. It's hybrid. You do have to put your buy-in and you have to do work, and also financially you will have an interest in it. However, they will put all the wheels in motion for publishing and marketing the book. You tell them how much or how little you want them to do, and they will do it for you. And you will approve everything along the way. I would be more than happy, John, to have a separate podcast to just talk about the process. It is an amazing process that I knew nothing about, like literally nothing. So it's unnerving. And I can say it's like rapid fire sequencing. Okay, you have to do, okay, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. Why? And it has to be approved by you, the author, because at the moment you decide they accept you and then you sign the agreement with them, we'll also sit down and figure out when do you want this book to be released. And now everything starts dominoing backwards because you are on a schedule, and everybody's going to know that your book comes out, in my case February 13th. Well, we don't want to arrive to February 12th and realize there is no book to be,
Right.
be presented.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm not mistaken, I've talked to other authors. Some of the benefits of doing the hybrid is you definitely have more control. If you do a big publisher, one of the big 3 or 4, number one, you lose pretty much all control, and they're going to tell you what title they want and how the chapters are going to be put. So, and it takes a lot longer. And in a hybrid, I think you get to reserve a little bit more of the income that comes in too. So that's, I'd say most of the guests I've had that have written books have gone that route. Now I've got a few that will self-publish, but I think most everybody's going the route you've gone, and especially with one of the really good top-notch, hybrid publishers, so boy, this sounds like fantastic.
Well, just to put a little bit of a data out there, 80% of people want to write a book, out of which 1% finish writing the book, out of which 1% get accepted for publication.
Wow.
Even with all that, there is about 1 million books coming on the market every year in the United States, and 4 million all comers, meaning 1 million that are accepted for publication and 4 millions that includes also self-publishing a year. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just amazing to me how much influx it is. But yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Here's what we're going to do. You're going to have to remind me about a week or two beforehand. So we'll promote that at that time. We can obviously promote it through this podcast, which will probably be, the beginning of January when people see this and hear this. But we'll definitely do something special for that February date. So that'll be fun. Tell us where to go to look for that.
Okay. So to learn more about my book and my platform, My website is www.drluissak.com, and it's double S. My email is hello@drluissak.com. If you sign up for my newsletter, you're going to get it in the mail, but also it brings up the updates, any news that come out. And also just to put it out there, just in case anyone wants to join me, February 13, there will be a destination book launch in Turks and Caicos Providenciales.
Say that again. So you can have a book launch on the 13th?
Yeah, on the 13th in Providenciales and Turks and Caicos Island.
Oh, okay. You're going to have to send me the specifics on that so I can put that in the show notes.
Sure, we can do
All
that.
right. Well, I think we are getting out of time at this point, but this has been a very interesting episode. We learned a lot about how to implement telemedicine, the pros, the cons, some things to keep in mind, definitely some good advice, and then about a memoir that's coming out from the time this is posted, about a month after this is going to be posted. So maybe we'll have some people follow you for that as well. Any last words of advice to our listeners about anything that we've talked about today before I let you go?
I would like to, yes. What I would like to say is that my advice regarding personal growth, follow your heart's desire. If there is something that keeps you up at night, an idea or a goal, whether it is opening a practice, starting a business, or just, open up a flower shop. And, if that is what you really truly want, if when you talk about it, your eyes are sparkling and your heart starts beating faster, do it. Just do it because you'll never regret it. And don't be afraid that you're going to fail, because you know what? You're never going to know unless you try something, especially when you really, really are passionate about it.
Thank you for that advice. Very inspirational. Um, you've got this book pretty much in the can, we would say. Are you thinking of doing another book later? I'm going to ask that question. Or are you going to rest for a while and think about it?
I am going to rest for a while. It's this last few years have been quite eventful, especially last year with the practice and the entire book publishing. So I will take a break, and let's just see. I want to smell the roses for a couple before I decide where am I going to move. What's my next steps are in
Yeah.
life.
Okay. Well, I'll be watching from the sidelines, and if you do something else, really interesting, I'll have you back on the podcast. So thanks a lot for being here today, Luissa. It's been very fun and educational, really.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time, and thank you for inviting me for this conversation, John. And
Oh,
happy holidays.
thank you. And
Go
before
ahead.
we go, for the people that are going to be on the video, I think I can show this slide one last time, or one first time here. Let me share my screen. And oh my. All right. I don't know if you can see that, Luissa,
I can.
but that has the phone number. It has some links on it. So when
Yep.
this makes its way to YouTube, we will show that slide and I can leave it up for a minute. So now I'm going to stop that.
Perfect.
All right. That's been great. We did everything we wanted to do today. So with that, I will say goodbye.
Yep. You'll have a great holidays and stay in touch with me.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. By the way, did you know that you too can sponsor the Physician Non-Clinical Careers podcast? As a sponsor, you'll reach thousands of physicians with each episode to sell your products and services or to build your following. Your message will be heard on the podcast, seen on the website, in our newsletter, and in social media posts. To learn more, contact us at john.jurica.md@gmail.com and include sponsor in the subject line. Dr. Luissa Kiprono attended the University of New England College of Osteopathic Medicine, completed a residency at Wright State University, at Wright-Patterson Medical Center in OB-GYN, and perinatology fellowship at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. More recently, She's been coaching and writing her memoir, which is called Push, Then Breathe: Trauma, Triumph, and Making of an American Doctor. And she also started her telemedicine practice, TeleMed MFM, in 2022. So she's been really busy. So let's meet today's guest. I'm really glad I had a chance to hear about this new telemedicine business that Luissa has created. Especially for you specialist and subspecialist physicians, there is a way to leverage telemedicine to create a practice that can be run remotely from a home office. It's kind of like a throwback to the times when physicians hung up a shingle and worked from an office in their homes in the first half of the 20th century. One caveat, though, on that is that unlike most primary care telemedicine practices, one that requires a lot of technology, such as Dr. Kiprono's, you can't really do remote traveling while working. So it still provides a bit more flexibility once it's up and running to be able to work from home, set your own hours, and be able to do things at home in between seeing patients if that's what you choose to do. It was a blast hearing about Dr. Kiprono's memoir also. I wish I could have read a draft or something so I could give you an unofficial review, but I guess we'll have to wait until February to check out the book online or at one of our local bookstores. But it should be pretty interesting. And I'll remind you about the release in a few weeks, both on the podcast and by email. If you have questions for Dr. Kiprono, you can reach her via LinkedIn. Just put in Dr. Kiprono, no, Dr. Luissa K, or Dr. Luissa Kiprono, and you'll find it. I'll put a link to the link LinkedIn profile in the show notes. If you want to learn more about our practice, go check out telemedmfm.com. That's all, one word, telemedmfm.com. And for the book, you can go to drluissak.com. That's drluissak.com. And if you have a need to email her, you can do that at hello@drluissak.com. Those links, the transcript of today's interview, and related links will all be found at nonclinicalphysicians.com/new telemedicine service. Well, that's it for today. Remember that the podcast is made possible by the support of the University of Tennessee Physician Executive MBA program. You can learn more about that at nonclinicalphysicians.com/physician MBA. Today's guest is a graduate, and I think I've interviewed at least 4 or 5 graduates, and it's an awesome physician executive MBA program that can be completed in just 1 year. I remind you that the opinions expressed here are mine and my guests, and while the information provided in the podcast is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge, there's no guarantee that using the methods discussed will lead to success in your life, career, or business. So always consult an attorney, accountant, or career strategist before making any major decision about your career. Yeah, you need to get those consultants in there if you need them. Some of the links I refer you to that you'll find in the show notes are affiliate links. That means I receive a payment from the seller if you purchase an affiliate item using my link. And finally, that's about it for today. I hope to see you here next Tuesday on the next episode of Physician Non-Clinical Careers. Bye-bye now.